there. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Coda Country Chats podcast. Today, I have with me Mr. Robby Johnson. How are you today, Robby?
I am good. Thank you so much, Leigh. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, good. Me too. Honestly, this is like such a highlight of my week, meeting new artists, learning about new music. And let's talk about your newest single that's releasing on February 7th. Thank God it's Friday. It's coming out Friday, February 7th. And I got to tell you, Robby, when I listened to the song right off the bat, a couple of the lines like made me go, what? Oh, what? Okay. And then the chorus hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so great, so catchy. Talk to me a little bit about the inspiration for the song.
All right. Inspiration really, it's just, I was sitting down and just thinking about, and I just let it out. It's somewhere, it's in the room and I just grab it and I discover it as I'm writing it and chasing it. But it's not, I don't really try and fabricate something. Oftentimes I'll write a song and then the title is like, no, that's not the title of this song, right. But it's the melody's right. It's just, no, it's not the title. So I go ahead and change the title for what the song really is meant to be. And this song, I was also giggling as I was I was writing it, because like, wait a minute, this is a love song, but wait a minute, where is it? It's going somewhere. I'm not sure I want to go, but still, it's a love song about beer. So it starts off, where you think he's talking to his girlfriend or wife,
right.
Significant
the pretty blonde,
other,
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, blonde, nuances in the blonde, makes my knees weak when you go down. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, is this R-rated? But and then it's hey, I can't wait to lay my hands on you, but I'm sorry, babe, I ain't talking to you. So I'm talking to my beer. And thank God it's Friday, because it's going down my way, So that's the song, and it was really fun, And my favorite is the bridge, and where they head back home, and love's all they're going to do. They're going to go to heaven, and it's a little bit because of you. So, I mean, that one to me was really funny, and I'm happy how it turned out, and the reactions are good, and also, I worked with Danny Rader. Most of my recent stuff is with Danny Rader, amazing player, musician. He's on tour. He's going to be doing the Sphere with Kenny. He was on tour with Kenny Chesney.
Wow.
In the past few tours. And he's insane, and he's also a producer, songwriter. So I just love it. I come up with these songs, and then I sit down with Danny. We go over them. He challenges me on the lyrics, on the chords, the key, everything, the structure, and oftentimes, we work on a track, and I will leave with the track, and I will rewrite a lot of the stuff from the inspiration of what he's done and all that, and words that he threw in, or sometimes, like for June and July, this one, I only had a chorus, and he helped me, figure out the verses, the melody and the verse, and all. So he's a co-writer on most of my all my recent songs. And I'm so happy, and he brought in Janae Fleener, amazing fiddle player, and it makes a difference in the song. The intro, it's funny because, and I told her that the other day, I was in the studio working on a new song, If Barstools Could Cry, that's going to be coming out. And she's playing fiddle on it, and I was telling her about Thank God It's Friday, because I had this, sometimes you're working on Pro Tools and you come up with ideas like, oh, what if we do something in the intro, and I added radio, I don't know, interference, where someone is kind of scanning to get on a channel.
Yeah.
So that was happening over like her fiddle intro.
Oh, yeah.
and then it just, when the song starts, then it all becomes stereo and clear and nice. And I was digging that. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, and you hear, people talking, and then you have the song that starts.
Yeah.
But then I was like, wait a minute, this is Janae Fleener. This is insane fiddle playing. There's no way I can, ruin that with my,
I know. It's like,
my
we gotta
special
hear her.
effects. So I was like, no, I need to release it with the actual, fiddle intro. That's how the song starts, and it's so good. And I'm so happy I did this and not the other idea I had. And I told her that, and she was like, yeah, you better, play my fiddle.
Well, maybe save that idea for another track. Maybe the next go round. Yes, for sure. I'm with you though. That's one of the things that struck me right off the bat was the fiddle intro. And also kind of like the sing along quality of the song. It's kind of like one of those, in my head as I was listening to it, I was like, it's one where like I'm already sorry mom, I'm already drunk at a bar, right? And I have my arms around somebody and I'm like, thank God it's Friday. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like for me. And I hope the listeners out there kind of grab onto that too whenever they listen to it, because I feel like that's the vibe, and you nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Okay, so you talked a lot about Danny Rader. How did you come in contact with Danny before y'all began working together?
All right, so actually, my first show ever was opening my, because I had a life before this. I was a sales rep on the road, and I started my music career in Nashville. And, it's a process. People kept telling me, hey, Robby, it's a process. You're not going to be on the radio. You're not going to be, certainly not going to be on TV, and within a year and a half, I was playing on radio, and I was invited on TV. I did a couple TV shows, and also my first gig ever, because I played for family, I sang for family, in front of family and all that, but a real gig where they're hiring Robby Johnson. I opened for Keith Urban, and there were 35,000 people. That was pretty insane. But afterwards, I met Keith, at the CMA Awards and all that. We talked about that, and then he was on his Ripcord World Tour, and he invited me to sing twice with him on 2 different nights. I went on stage and sang with Keith, but his band leader is Jerry Flowers. So that's how, it started. And Danny was in the band. He was playing with Keith Urban back then. So that's how it kind of started. At one point I was looking for someone like Danny. So I reached out to Jerry, and he was like, well, Danny Rader's your guy. You should meet, and it's like, yeah, well, I mean, I met him before, but let's do this. And we met, and then we just started working on songs, and that's how we've been doing it for the past few years.
Wow. Okay, I want to go back because you just talked about how you had a life before this.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your background and what finally landed you in the country music community, and tell me all about how you got here, essentially.
All right. So first, I got here in Nashville because people kept telling me, you should go to Nashville. You should go to Nashville. There's something, in your music and all that. But also because at one point I met with Jim Catino, who was the big A&R at Sony Music Nashville. Wow. And he just explained to me, he said, listen, Robby, there's thousands of artists that come to Nashville every year, thousands that come, thousands that leave, and so we cannot help everybody. We help those who are committed 100% to this, where they're not trying. They're not here a weekend here and there or a few months and then go back home and it's like, let's try this. No, they help artists that it's their plan A, it's their plan B, it's their plan. That's the only thing they want to do is music, and they will, stay with it. So that's when we decided to move to Nashville from that conversation with Jim Catino. And because before that I was going back and forth, and it was working, but I wasn't, if you want the help from everybody, and if you want the industry to, to really see that you're in it 100%, then you have to, be there all the
Yeah.
time, 100%, and move. So that's what we did. But what got me into country music, because I had, like I said, a different life, is my girlfriend, now my wife. She would hear me sing. I would write songs, original songs, and just sing around in the shower, in the car,
Yeah.
And she was like, "You need to hear yourself." So one Christmas, she passed the hat and she gave me a demo session in a studio to cut one of my songs. And I gotta
Oh, I
say,
love
back then,
that.
yes, but back then it was, to me, the worst gift ever.
Oh.
And there's a video of me opening the letter, and everybody's around me is like, "Wow, this is the coolest gift ever." And I open it and like, "Oh, wow, nice. Thank you." And I was like, "Oh, this gift sucks."
Why?
But
Why? Oh my gosh. Why did you
because
think that?
in my life,
Mhm.
I kind of know what's coming up, and it's just that I'm afraid, I'm scared, and so I kind of back off and like, "No, I'm never going to do this. No, I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to be a waiter in a restaurant. I was a waiter in a restaurant. I'm never going to be a sales rep on the road. I was a sales rep on the road." Every time I say never, it's because deep down inside I know it, and I'm trying. I don't know. I'm scared or something. I don't know. And that was the case where I kind of knew, I guess, deep down inside, and I just needed that little push. And following,
Yeah.
that day in the studio, it kind of started to snowball.
Oh. Well, I think that's just the funniest little story that in your head you were like, "No, this is just not gonna work for me," and
Yeah.
then it wound up working for you.
Yep. It's funny because
My goodness. Yeah.
as a young kid, as a kid, I would write my name, and at the end, instead of putting my last name, I would just put an X,
Mm.
where I knew I would do something special. I just didn't know what.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
And I think that's really cool that you, like, in the back of your mind, you already had an idea, whether it was like full-fledged or not. It was just some kind of like musing of what you want for
Hmm.
yourself, even if you didn't know what it was yet. I think
Yeah.
that's really kind of intuitive in a way that like you were able to kind of spin that and then create what you have now. I love hearing that story. Well, okay, so going from that demo session, which song did you record? What was your first demo that you
It
laid
was,
down?
and it's funny because I brought my father-in-law with me, and it was really so that everybody would have a good time. I wasn't going there to cut a hit record and
Right.
start a career. It was really, let's just be done with this, And
Yeah.
so I decided to do a feel-good, country rock song
Mhm.
titled "I'll Be There Rockin' and Rollin'."
Cute.
And it talked about beer, of course, and party. But yeah, and the band, when I started singing the song, bring it to your lips, and it was, taking a little sip. So, and they were like, "Oh my God, who are you?
Oh.
Where are you coming from? I mean, this sounds like Nashville." And the whole day they kept telling me, you should go to Nashville. But
Oh.
yeah, that was the song. "I'll be there rocking and rolling."
Rocking and rolling. And now here you are in Nashville.
Rocking
And
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 rolling.
and you were telling me before we that's right. You were telling me before we hopped on the call that you release a new song just about every 6 to 8 weeks. And then one of the most recent ones you worked on right before releasing Thank God It's Friday next week was Road I'm On. Tell me, the songs are, in my mind, they're very different. So
Oh,
tell
totally
me,
different.
yeah, what inspired that song? And then if you could just give me like a compare, contrast, or just like give me
All right.
some insight
So
on headspace there. You know what I mean?
okay, so "Road I'm On," I was just, you know, and that's the way I
I love
write.
this.
It's just, I'm just, just sitting down, Oh man, it's probably out of tune. Totally out of tune, I guess. Yeah, a little sharp now. That's not too bad. Come on, so for this one, I was just fooling around, on a chord progression, and I just let the words out, and oftentimes it's only halfway through the song that I realize, oh, this one is about me. It's about my story. And it's the case for this one, So, and when I release music, it's not like it needs to fit on an album where from start, there needs to be a thread or something. Because I think a lot about the live show when I release music, because I don't want the live show to be the same song over and over again.
Oh yeah.
So it's good to have different, I have some songs that are leaning towards reggae. I have songs that are, more country rock, traditional country, country pop. So I've all those, influences, all those sounds, because when you see my live show, then like I said, it's not the same song over and over again. And I also have some, very traditional, very old style Johnny Cash country as well. Songs that I've written, that I released. And it just, gives room for an interesting live show where you start with some, more traditional country. Then you can go deep into the more old style country, where it's the train beat and everybody's clapping. It's like,
yes,
screaming, stomping their boots. And then you go back, you can go to the more current stuff. And then you just finish with the country rock, the heavy country rock, the heavy electric guitars in your face and energy, and people just love it. So that's how I do it. I have those songs. I have a song called Get Her Done. That's really that type of country rock, in your face, that heavy guitars. And Big Time is another one, co-written by Frank Myers and Chris Young. I have a cut. So it's really just letting it out and just letting the song be what it wants to be. So that's what happened for this one.
So that's how. Okay, sometimes I ask this in an interview just because I like to know. So in what you were just describing to me with Road I'm On, you kind of like started with the progression itself, right? Or do you start with? Because I guess like.
It
with
comes
lyrics.
Together.
Yeah.
It's funny because what I realize is, and that's why I feel like we find the songs. We don't really write them, because it's funny sometimes the melody will, you will say, because music and songs, it's a conversation. And intonations is very important in conversation. That's how we know if someone's upset, if someone's mad, sad, what's the intention? Is it a question? Is it just a remark? Is it an affirmation? So there's intonation. So the same goes for music. And so if you want to say a line, let it be, for, there's not 1,000 ways you can sing that. There's not 1,000 melodies that you can do that fit with what you're saying, because it has to be conversational. It has to feel real, like a conversation. So oftentimes you will start a melody and there's only a few words that fit in that melody.
Yeah.
For it to make sense. Because if you have a melody and you say, oh, well, I want to say this. Yeah, but you would never say this that way, or, you would never use those intonate, So it really, it glues together. It comes together. So sometimes, as you're playing, you will just let go a line, and naturally you will have the right melody, because it's you saying something. So it makes the process a whole lot easier than trying to, okay, I'm going to, on the piano, trying to come up with a cool melody. And you could do that, but I'm telling you, the words that are going to come up are going to be determined by that melody. You
That's
will not
true.
be able to grab that and then say, "Oh, I want to say this cool line here on over this melody." There's a
Mm-hmm.
big chance it's
Because
not going to work, and you're going to have to
right.
tweak it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like you're locked
that's how
in
it
and you can
works.
only have
Yeah.
yeah, no, that totally makes
Exactly.
sense to me. Absolutely, that makes
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me. I'm glad you gave me that insight on your songwriting style because I like hearing different variations of how writers do it. I think it's
Yeah.
really interesting to hear kind of the process and to
Hmm.
hear, where your mind's at whenever we're thinking of the next one and finding
Yeah.
the song. I really like that line that you just said there. Finding the
I'm
song
guessing
and
that
not writing the song. Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of songwriters aren't aware they're doing this. They just do it
Hmm.
naturally.
Right.
And I guess also people that are very true and very authentic in
Hmm.
this, that's why they have so much success because they speak true and their
Hmm.
melodies speak true as well. It follows what they're saying, it's in sync. So that's why it touches us even more. And so I sometimes I will listen to old songs I've written where I wasn't really doing that. I was kind of
Yeah.
fabricating some songs.
Hmm.
And sometimes like, oh, that's not the right melody for what I'm saying. It doesn't fit. And it's not the right intonation. It's not yeah. So it's funny to notice
Huh.
that in music. And you can pick any hit song and it
Hmm.
all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a good
Yeah. I mean,
example. I had a really good example. White Horse, Chris Stapleton. We were
yeah. Yeah.
listening to that song with some people, and in one sense, I don't like when he goes, "Oh," but it makes so much sense with the
Uh-huh.
lyrics because he's saying, "Whoa, wait a minute,
Uh-huh.
whoa." If you want to
Yes.
watch, so it all makes sense. It's there for a reason.
Hmm.
And she was like, "Oh yeah, I never thought of that." Well, yeah.
I didn't think about that either. Oh my gosh, it really does ring true what you were just saying about it matches the inflection of the voice and the natural flow of
Yeah.
conversation almost
Yeah.
of telling the story, and
Yeah.
wow. Interesting. I'm so glad that you told me that. And I know that we're cutting short on time today. So first of all, I do want to thank you so much for coming on the episode. And I've really enjoyed learning more about your style and about your songwriting and about your awesome music that you have coming out. If you would, do you have any other shout outs to anybody that you'd like to make? Or is there anything else that you would like to promote before we hop off the call today?
Uh, Shout out to the fans, the listeners, the viewers. I mean, we're nothing. They make it happen, really.
Yes.
I mean, I could be, standing on a stage and playing my guitar, catching in fire and singing. But if there's no one in the crowd, it's not a moment. Nothing's happening. And
Yeah.
so it's you guys that make it happen. So thank you so much. That's what I want to say. You guys make it happen. You are the stars of the show.
Oh my gosh. I love that take too. I think that's just so true. It's so great to have people out there loving country music and loving what you do as an artist and how you share your soul with your fans and your audience listening. So
Yeah.
listeners out there, make sure that you go check out Robby Johnson's new single that's dropping on February 7th. Thank God it's Friday. It will be a beautiful Friday that day. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you again, Robby, and y'all have a great day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, they are, when you're at a live show, you're not just watching a live show, you're a part of it. You're
Yeah,
really doing something. You're not just witnessing something, you're making it happen. You're part of it as
absolutely.
much as the singer, the drum player, everybody is important and you're as important because if you're not there, it's not a live show. It's not happening. So you're doing
That's
something.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks so
And
much, guys.
thank you. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us today. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Leigh.